Hey everybody, how are you? Hope all is well. Coming live from Chef T's Kitchen here in Shelton, Connecticut. My beautiful assistant daughter, Brianna, is doing the filmography, videography. And today we are going to make English muffins. I'm going to show you how to make some dough. We did this once already, but this dough is going to be a little different. We made pizza dough. Flour, yeast, water, and salt. That's called hard lean dough, if you remember from the vocab from back then. And we used the straight dough method, which is mixing everything at once. I think we did it once with the mixer, and I think we did it once by hand. I'm going to do it by hand here today. We're going to be making a soft medium dough today. Soft medium dough has about 6 to 9% fat and sugar inside, okay? If you think of the lean dough, the pizza dough, like Italian bread, it's a chewy crumb inside, very crusty crust on the outside. The soft medium dough, because it has fat in there, it kind of lubricates the gluten strands, the elasticity, so it's not so tight, so it's easier to break apart. It's a lot softer. You think of an English muffin, totally different than Italian bread, okay? And the crust the crust is a little softer as well. The crumb inside is softer, and so is the crust. We are going to be using fresh yeast today. I've already started blooming or proofing the yeast in our water. This water is about 100 degrees. 90 degrees is actually the optimum temperature for the yeast to start to activate. Now there's two types of yeast. There's fresh yeast that we use at school, and there's also dry yeast. This is fresh yeast today. The dry yeast called for a ½ ounce. I doubled it because it's concentrated. The fresh yeast is a ½ ounce. The dry yeast would have been a ¼ ounce. But you have to do the same thing. You have to put it into water to let it start to activate. So it starts to foam up in there. It starts that fermentation process. The fermentation is when the yeast starts to ferment, it creates carbon dioxide gas, and that's what makes those bubbles, and that's what makes our dough leaven and rise. Okay, and as the protein cooks, as the bread cooks, the protein in the flour, the gluten's of protein, coagulates. It goes from a sort of like a liquid to a solid. It kind of cooks, almost like when you cook a raw egg white and it turns white. Okay, it's hard. It gets hard, but it's flexible, but it's a lot harder than just an egg white. What that does is it holds that air bubble in there, and that's when you see those beautiful bubbles in there. So let's get right into it. Like I said, I've heated we have milk here. All right, so we have milk. My mise en place here, I have my yeast and my water. I have a little bit of salt. I have some sugar. Sugar is food for the yeast, okay? Salt flavors and helps the bread not to overrise, but you can't mix this with the yeast. You have to use a buffer with the flour. You have to mix this when you put the flour in. Same thing with the pizza dough, okay? We also have our liquid shortening. Today I have high protein flour, white flour, and I also have wheat. I'm gonna make a wheat English muffin today, okay? First thing I did is I mixed my yeast in my water. Now I'm going to mix, this is also warm, the milk is also warm. I'm going to mix my sugar into, I'm going to mix my sugar right into the milk with a wire whip. Okay? We're going to dissolve this. I just use regular granulated, okay? Now, this calls for 6 cups of flour. So if you remember, we fluff it, we overfill it, and we level. 1, 2, like that, 2, 3, okay? And I think I'm going to put 4 cups of regular flour in and 2 cups of wheat. Because the wheat has the husk in it, and it has the whole grain in there, it's sharp, and what happens is it cuts the gluten strands, and it doesn't allow all that air to stay in there, and sometimes the air escapes, so you can get a denser product coming from wheat So you still need white flour. So I'm gonna do 4, so we're gonna just use almost like 33%. 6 cups, I'm gonna put 4 cups of white and 2 cups of wheat in there. Now we have our wheat, it's gonna go right in there. All right. This is not as, it doesn't pack as much as regular flour because of the sharpness of and the grittiness of the grind of the flour, the grind. Let's see, we'll do the funnel thing. All right. Okay, beautiful. Now we mix. We mix this. I'm going to actually add my oil to my milk. Right here. I'm going to actually add my salt to my flour. Okay? You can do this either way. You can have the liquid in a big bowl and then add the flour. I'm going to add the liquid to the flour. I'm going to do it all at once. Start to mix this a little bit. And here's our yeast water. Okay. Very important is we clean as we go. Clean as we go. And I'm going to mix this. Now, different parts of the year, the flour is different because of the heat and the moisture in the air. See, right now, it's still a little nippy outside, so we have the heat on. The heat dries the flour out, so sometimes it actually needs a little more liquid. And if it does, we can always add it. But I'm already thinking it might need a little bit more. It feels a little dry. So I'm just going to go over and I'm going to add a little bit. I'm just going to go grab some water real quick. You want to add this in the beginning part. Okay? In the beginning, and we're going to knead this. Kneading is actually, we're developing the gluten now. Actually developing the gluten. We start like this. If you think it's a little too much water, that might be a little too much, you can just add a little more flour, okay? Now from here, I'm gonna take it out. I'm gonna put a little flour on my board, okay? And I'm gonna use this part of my hand, extend my arms, close my elbows, right? Put my front foot up a little bit, and I'm gonna use my body weight to knead this. Just like this, all right? We're developing the gluten in here now. We need to develop that gluten. Put my stove on. I have a finished product here of English muffins I made earlier that are all proof that are ready to fry up. I'm going to show you how we do that. And I have an English muffin that I already finished. And that's the thing about doing these videos. You have to have each stage ready to show you. Okay? Now we're not going to roll this now. We're going to have to let this proof up, which means the yeast will ferment and it'll create the gas that'll rise the dough. And right now this is very, very elastic. You can see the gluten in there, those gluten strands. All right, those little strands there, that's the elasticity that holds the air. Okay, the more gluten there is, the more air it's going to hold. So right now, I'm going to take this, I'm going to spray this bowl with a little oil, and we're going to let this relax. I'm going to cover this. I'm going to do a little on top. I'm going to cover this with plastic wrap. And we're going to let this proof up. Probably going to take a good 2 hours. So don't know what time it is now, but it's quarter after 5. So about 7:15, I'm actually going to have to, that's actually going to come up about twice as much. I'm going to have to punch it down, then I'm going to roll it with a rolling pin. There's 2 ways you can do it. You can roll it with a rolling pin. You can cut it out with a nice round cutter, which I don't have at home. Or you can weigh each, 3 ounces. You can roll them. And then what happens then is you put them on a tray like this with cornmeal on it. Okay, so these have been proofing for, I don't know, since this morning. Roll those out, you're gonna have to proof them again. And English muffins are cooked on a griddle. If you ever notice an English muffin, I have a finished product right here. These are sandwich size. This is hamburger size English muffins. But they're cooked on a flat top, both sides. The cornmeal's on that side. And when you flip it over, there's no cornmeal on this side. But these are nice and beautiful. You can hear that hollowness in there. That's how you know the bread is done, when you can hear that air, that deadening sound, and it springs back. Beautiful. All right, so now we have a little bit of oil. Okay. This would be the equivalent of grilling, or griddle on a griddle, like a flat top griddle. I'm gonna crank this up a little bit. I'm gonna clean as I go. Clean up, everybody, everywhere. Clean up, everybody. Do their share. Barney, hello everybody, I'm Barney. You know I do that in class, but it gets everybody moving, right? Okay, I have my spatula. Let me get rid of this. Okay. All right. So now this is getting hot when you see the waves in the pan, in the oil. Okay, so now there you go. This goes in. All right, it doesn't seem to be that hot yet, but that's okay. It's starting to fry. So we don't want these very oily. What's really, really nice is I don't have any here, but clarified butter. When you melt the butter and you take the middle section, it's just the oil. Very, very flavorful. Very flavorful. So while that's cooking, I'm just gonna wipe my area. Okay? Wipe your area. Guys, if you only have all-purpose flour and not high gluten or high protein flour, it's okay. All right. Now I'm gonna lower this because it's gonna burn. But see that? They're flying freely in here. Flying freely. And you can see, if you look close, that the gas inside there that's been caught inside the gluten strands is starting to expand. And what that does, it makes it rise even more. Let's just see what we're looking. You gotta cook these about 8 to 10 minutes on each side. 8 to 10 minutes on each side. So while that's cooking, I'm gonna get this one out right here. While that's cooking right here, just bear with me. Get myself a little knife to cut this. You need a serrated knife, right? And of course, it's always this way. Now you can put this in a toaster oven. You can put this in your oven or in a toaster. But look at that. Now if you see that, you can see that this dough has these bubbles in it. And this is the gluten that held the bubbles. At one time, these were all gas bubbles here. See, now this is soft inside, and the crust is soft, okay? When you toast it, it's gonna get even better. It's gonna get toasted on the outside, but soft on the inside. And this is perfect for a burger. Look at that. Beautiful. Now, if we go back, let's see what we have here. Okay, we're starting to brown a little bit. Okay? This is gonna go back to this side. I just wanted to show you that. You know what, let me keep doing it. I'll cook one Now these are really, really big, so what I did with that one, I had to finish it in the oven. I did it about, you know what, I'm gonna go about 325. 300, you know, I think I'm even gonna go less, 300. Because I don't want to really brown the outsides. If you ever notice on an English muffin, just the top and the bottom are brown, the sides usually aren't brown because they never hit a surface of hot metal. They're always cooked from start to finish in a pan like this. But these are colossal. These are really, really big. How much time we have here?
15 minutes.
We did 15. Okay, great. Wow, that's a long video. Okay, guys, here you go. That's what an English muffin looks like. And these are going to be great tonight. So I'm looking forward to having this for dinner. Out for now. Look out for the next video at Chef T's Home Kitchen. God bless.